Whether you're thinking about your next paycheck or the next generation, getting control of your financial life really just boils down to one simple thing: having a plan. It's about being intentional with every single dollar, both for today and for all your tomorrows. All right, let's get right into it. So, let me ask you something right off the bat, and I want you to really think about it. Do you feel like you're in the driver's seat with your finances, or does it feel more like you're just a passenger on a really stressful, bumpy ride? The answer almost always comes down to whether you're being proactive or reactive. And when we talk about being proactive, it really breaks down into two big ideas we're going to connect today. First, you've got the now plan. That's your budget, right? It's all about mastering your cash flow month to month. And then you have the later plan, your estate. That's about guiding your assets and making sure your legacy is secure. Now, they might seem like they're from two different universes, but you're about to see that the mindset behind them is exactly the same. Okay, let's start with the now. This is where you have the most immediate power to completely change your financial reality. And it all starts with a budget. And look, I know that word can sound kind of restrictive, but I want you to think of it as a tool for freedom. One really powerful way to do this is with what's called a zero-based budget. The idea is so simple, but it's a total game changer. You give every single dollar a job to do. It's not about having $0 in your bank account. It's about having $0 left unassigned at the end of the month. This little shift forces you to be so intentional before you even spend a dime. And you might be thinking, well, that sounds nice, but my income is all over the place. This totally works for you too. If you're a freelancer, you work on commission, whatever. The key is you start by planning with your lowest estimated income for the month. You list out all your expenses, but you cover the necessities first. Food, housing, utilities, the basics. Then you just give every dollar a job till you hit zero, track everything, and I mean everything. And then, this is crucial, you make a brand new budget before the next month starts. It's a cycle, a rhythm. I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. A budget isn't something you can just set and forget. It's a living, breathing plan that you've got to check in with all the time to really stay in control. All right, so we've talked about the nitty-gritty of the now. Let's zoom out a bit and look at the big picture, the later. We're shifting from your monthly budget to your estate plan. And I know that phrase sounds super formal and intimidating, but it really doesn't have to be. Because at its core, an estate plan is incredibly simple. It's just you deciding ahead of time who gets your stuff. That's it. Your money, your house, your car, your weird collection of action figures. When you strip away all the legal jargon, that's all it is. It's your plan for your things. See? Not so scary? But here's the thing that a lot of people totally miss. A good estate plan isn't just about what happens after you're gone. It's also designed to protect you while you're still here. Think about it. If something happened and you couldn't make financial or medical decisions for yourself, this plan puts someone you trust in charge. It's an absolutely critical safety net for life's unexpected turns. Okay, if you're married, you're going to want to pay close attention here because this is a huge decision. Do you leave your assets to your spouse outright or in trust? Now, outright means they get everything, no strings attached. Sounds simple, right? But the risk is if they get remarried, your own kids could accidentally get disinherited down the road. In trust, on the other hand, it's like putting up protective guardrails. It provides for your spouse, for sure, but it also ensures that your assets eventually go to your children, just like you wanted. So you see, it doesn't matter if we're talking about your weekly grocery money or your entire life savings. There are these common traps that trip people up again and again. And honestly, just knowing what they are is half the battle. Let's focus on the big one for a second. When it comes to planning for your legacy, what do you think is the number one, absolute biggest mistake people make? It's doing nothing, just inaction. A staggering 50%, that's half, of Americans don't even have a will. And here's the kicker. If you don't have a plan, the state has one for you. And trust me, it's almost definitely not what you would have wanted. That one number just shows the massive gap between what people know they should do and what they actually do. And this is where it all comes full circle. Just look at the parallels. The challenges are practically identical. Getting started, people feel totally overwhelmed with both. Maintenance, that set it and forget it error is a killer for your budget and your estate plan. And communication, not talking to your family about the plan, that is a recipe for confusion and conflict no matter what you're talking about. The problems are universal. And if we drill down a little deeper on estate planning, these are the exact hurdles where people get stuck. They chase this idea of a perfect plan, which, let's be real, doesn't exist. They sign a trust, but then forget the most critical step, actually funding it with their assets.
They get completely paralyzed by the tough emotional decision of naming guardians for their kids. And, just like we saw, they forget that this plan needs to change as their life changes.
So, what's the big takeaway here? If the number one biggest mistake is doing nothing, then the biggest victory you can have is simply getting started. This whole thing is about making progress, not hitting perfection right out of the gate.
I absolutely love this quote because it's so blunt, but it's also weirdly empowering, right? That feeling of being behind is just a feeling. The reality is, if you're here listening to this, you have time. The deadline isn't today. The time to act is now.
So let's boil all this down to one single idea. Don't let the idea of a perfect plan stop you from taking the first step. It doesn't matter if it's your budget or your will. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is just to start. And I want to leave you with this question. Let's make this real. Forget about the huge overhaul for a second. What is just one, small, tangible step you can commit to taking this week? Maybe you'll track your spending for just one day, or maybe you'll just Google an estate planning attorney in your area. Just pick one thing and do it, because that's how real control actually begins.